Hello everyone, good day. Let's continue our discussion about our subject understanding self. When we talk about sexuality and human development, it is important to understand the physical changes. One is primary sex characteristics and the second one is secondary sex characteristics. First, let us look at primary sex characteristics. These changes are directly related to the reproductive system. For boys, we see the enlargement of the testes, penis, prostate gland, and seminal vesicles. These organs prepare the body to produce sperm. So, a key event for boys is called spermation, which is the first ejaculation. This usually happens between the ages of 12 and 16. Signals that the male body is now capable of reproduction. Now for girls naman, the primary sex characteristics involve the development of the uterus, ovaries, and vagina. The uterus begins preparing for menstruation, and the vagina produces early discharges before the first period. So the most important milestone here is menarche, or the first menstrual cycle, which usually occurs between ages 10 to 15. Let us move to secondary sex characteristics. Unlike the primary ones, these changes are not directly linked to reproduction but serve as visible signs of maturity. For boys, this includes the deepening of the voice, broadening of the shoulders, growth of facial and body hair, and increase in muscle mass. Now for girls naman, the changes include breast development, widening of hips, growth of pubic and underarm hair, and changes in body shape with more fat around the hips and thighs. So by understanding both primary and secondary sex characteristics, we can recognize how puberty prepare us for adulthood. So primary sex characteristics make reproduction possible, while secondary sex characteristics change our outward appearance and signaling maturity and shaping our identity as we grow. Now let's proceed now with our next topic in our PowerPoint presentation right now. When we study human development, it is important to understand the reproductive system. Both male and female reproductive systems play vital roles in reproduction, growth, and overall health. Let us begin with the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is composed of both external and internal structures. The external parts include the labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, vaginal opening, hymen, and the urethral opening. We see that the labia majora protect the outer structures, while the labia minora surround the vaginal and urethral openings. So the clitoris is highly sensitive and plays an important role in stimulation. So with this one, the vaginal opening allows menstrual flow, childbirth, and sexual intercourse. The hymen is a thin tissue that partially covers the vaginal opening at birth, and the urethral opening serves as the outlet for urine. Now, internally, we find the vagina, uterus, ovaries, and fallopian tubes. The vagina functions as the birth canal and passage for menstrual flow. The uterus, a muscular pear-shaped organ, carries and nourishes a developing fetus. So the ovaries produce eggs and release hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. So with this one, the role of the fallopian tube serve as passageways for eggs, and it is where fertilization usually occurs. Have you noticed that in reproduction, when a sperm cell meets an egg, a zygote is formed. The zygote develops into a fetus that grows inside the uterus for about 9 months. So now, let us try to understand the male reproductive system. This system is made up of external and internal organs. Externally, we find the penis, scrotum, testes, and epididymis. So the penis now serves as the organ for sexual intercourse and a passageway for urine and semen. And the scrotum is a scalp of skin that holds and protects the testes, keeping them at the right temperature for sperm reproduction. Now the testes are responsible for producing sperm and the hormone testosterone, which helps in muscle growth, deepening of the voice, and the development of the body hair. So the epididymis stores sperm and allows them to mature. And internally, The male reproductive system includes the vas deferens, which includes also the prostate gland and the urethra. And the vas deferens transports sperm from the epididymis to the urethra during ejaculation. And the prostate gland produces fluid that mixes with sperm to form semen. Now, to understand this one, it protects and nourishes the sperm. And the urethra creates both urine and semen out of the body, depending on the function. By understanding the female and male reproductive system, we can see how both are essential in human reproduction and development. And these systems not only make reproduction possible, but also play a significant role in maintaining overall health and hormonal balance. Now, if we can see now the external parts, which is the labia majora, which describes the large hips or the large lips, enclose and protect the external reproductive organs. Clitoris naman, it is a small, sensitive protrusion where the labia minora meet. It is covered by the prepuce and is highly sensitive to stimulation, comparable to the penis in males. So the vaginal opening, the passage through which menstrual blood and babies exit. It has also served as an entry point for tampons, sex toys, or pennies. So hymen, it is a piece of tissue partially covering the vaginal opening formed during development and present at birth. And urethral opening, this is the external opening through which urine exists, the body. So you know what? In understanding the egg counts in females during fetal development, around 6 million eggs are present. You know what? At birth, approximately 1 million remain. And by puberty, about 300,000 eggs are left. And the number continues to decline with age. So that's why we need to consider that fertility decreases as egg count and quality diminish. Now, the internal parts naman sa babae, na pag-usapan natin, the vagina, the uterus, the ovaries, fallopian tubes, these are the parts of the reproduction process. The inclusion of two sex cells, the sperm and egg. With sperm fertilizes an egg, a zygote with 23 chromosomes from each pair is formed. And the zygote develops into fetus, which grows inside the uterus for approximately 9 months. And napag-usapan natin ang male reproductive system, which includes produce, production, maintains, transports sperm and semen, and discharges sperm and secretes male sex hormones. So it is responsible for reproduction, sexual function, and urinations. Now, let's continue our discussion with the erogenous. We begin by understanding the word erogenous. You know what? It comes from the Greek word eros, meaning love, and genus, meaning inducing. When we talk about erogenous zone, we refer to the parts of the human body that have heightened sensitivity. And when these areas are stimulated, we may experience responses such as relaxation, sexual fantasies, excitement, or even orgasm. We recognize that erogenous zones are spread throughout the body, and the intensity of stimulation. For us as people, recognizing these zones is important because it shows how physical touch can become an expression of intimacy. We know that the skin is the largest organ of the body, but certain areas are much more sensitive than others. We often consider the genitals, lips, nipples, and breasts, thighs, the back of the ears, and the neck as the most responding erogenous zones. So when we receive or give touch in these areas, we may feel stronger sensations compared to other parts of the body. And we also need to remember that each of us has unique preferences and boundaries. For us to experience healthy and pleasurable intimacy, openness and acceptance are essential. We cannot assume that one sexual style works for everyone. Instead, we should focus on communicating and exploring with our partners. Through this process, we can discover which erogenous zones bring comfort and connection. And finally, we should understand that discovering and respecting erogenous zones. Now, we understand this one because, as a matter of fact, the sensual response cycle is the natural sequence of stages we experience during sexual activity, starting from arousal and ending with recovery. And by learning about these stages, we become more aware of how our bodies respond, and we can recognize possible concerns with sexual health. You know what? Masters and Johnson describe 4 phases for this one. The first one, excitement. The 2, orgasm and resolution. In the excitement phase, we feel the beginning of arousal. As you can see right in our PowerPoint presentation, it states here that our blood flow increases, our heart rate rises, and our muscles tense. So for men, this phase shows through erection, and for women, through clitoral swelling, and the stage prepares our body for what comes next. As we move into plateau phase, arousal grows stronger. Men may notice the testes rising and pre-ejaculatory fluid being released, while women naman may feel more swelling of the clitoris and vaginal lips. This phase builds up tension and heightens anticipation before climax. Now let's move to the context of orgasm phase. It is the peak of the cycle. In a short but powerful stage, we experience intense pleasure. Men often ejaculate while women feel rhythmic contractions. Although brief, this phase delivers the strongest sensation of the cycle. Okay? And finally, the resolution phase allows our bodies to return to normal. Our muscles relax and our heartbeats slow down. So men enter a reproductive period where another orgasm cannot happen immediately. Women naman, however, may continue sexual activity and sometimes experience multiple orgasms before reacting resolutions. And through these stages, we see that sexual response cycle is a natural process that connects our bodies, emotions, and experiences. Now let's proceed to the chemistry of attraction, love, and attachment. When we talk about attraction, love, and attachment, we discover that these are not only feelings but also processes shaped by our brain and body chemistry. In the first stage of attraction, we experience the effect of dopamine. This chemical activates our brain's reward system, giving us feelings of excitement, motivation, and anticipation whenever we feel drawn to someone. And that is why, in the early moments of attraction, we often feel energized and thrilled. And as we move deeper into love, oxytocin, also called the love hormone, plays a vital role, and we release oxytocin during hugs, kisses, cuddles, and even sexual intimacy. And through this, we feel trust, closeness, and connection growing stronger between us and the people we bond with. Love becomes more than excitement. It turns into something stable and emotionally nurturing. And when we develop attachment, we enter a stage where oxytocin, vasopressin, and cortisol interact. These hormones help us build commitment, handle stress in relationships, and find emotional security. And together, by understanding this one, they allow us to create lasting connections, ensuring that relationships are not only passionate but also dependable and strong. And now let's continue our discussion pertaining to gender and development. When we study gender development, or call this GAD, we understand how gender roles and inequality shape our lives and influence development in society. God focuses on achieving equality between men and women, reminding us that growth and progress cannot be achieved without fairness and inclusive. And that gender is not only biological differences, but also about the role society assigns to us. Our gender identity is how we see ourselves as a male, female, or beyond those categories, while our sexual identity is about who we are attached to, whether heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, or asexual. Importance of the LGBTQ plus movement, which represents lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, and more identities under the plus. And this inclusivity shows us that love, identity, and expression come in many forms. And by respecting and valuing this diversity, we take part in creating a society where everyone feels recognized, accepted, and equal. Now let's proceed with our discussion in terms of STIs. When we talk about sexually transmitted infections or STIs, we often hear the term sexually transmitted diseases, or called as STDs. However, it is more accurate to use the word infections because not all cases immediately develop into illness. We understand that STIs are mainly spread through sexual activity, but other forms of transmission also exist. And by learning about these infections, we become more aware of both the risks and the way to protect ourselves. And now, one of these is the chlamydia. We recognize that chlamydia is a bacterial infection that spreads through vaginal, anal, or oral sex, since it often shows no symptoms. Many of us may not realize if infection occurs if we leave it untreated, it can result in complications such as pelvic inflammatory disease. If we leave it untreated, it can result in complications such as pelvic inflammatory disease, infertility, and high risk of contracting other infections. This reminds us why early testing and treatment are very important.